y'all. Don't, come on, man. Don't, come on, y'all. This is too kind. This is too kind. Y'all up here and in here. So we're going to begin a little shortly. We're going to start at 5:05. So bear with us, everybody. We just want to give enough time for people to join the room. Please give Royce, Brandy, my man Devon, all the love in the world. These are all students in Gen Z who are here to talk to us about the upcoming 2024 election. So everybody, please give them a warm fan base welcome. Show them some love, man. Let them know that they're appreciated. So we're going to begin here, and probably a little sooner than 5:05. Let's see. What up, Jace? What up? Let's see, it's 5:02 now. Please, starting off the room, remember to share with your friends. Let them jump into this room. Show your cousins, your little brothers, your little sisters, everybody who needs to know about this upcoming election, what is happening, what is going on. This is super important moment for our generation, and we want the people to know what's happening, what's going on, and what they most importantly can do. Let's see. What is up, everybody? What is up? We got some people who are joining the room. Good to see all of y'all joining in, coming on in. Thank y'all for joining, resetting the room. The 2024 Collegiate Town Hall. This is where you all are going to learn all about the upcoming 2024 election, all the key points and factors to get it started. It is 5:03. We have a great crowd coming in here. I'm happy to see it. Y'all think we can begin? What y'all think? My amazing panelists.
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, bet. Let me first introduce myself, everybody. My name is Noah Washington. I am the partner relationship manager here at Fanbase Social Media. I am 25 years old. Some people say I fall either between millennial or Gen Z, right? I'm not sure who the expert is, but for those 98 babies, let me know which one I fall into. I think I'm a millennial.
No,
but I'm more than
if
positive.
you're 98, you're Gen Z. You're very much so top of Gen Z. So welcome.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad to be a part of it and joining by these amazing, amazing people. These are everybody on this panel currently is Gen Z. They are experts and they just have so much background knowledge and they're just so great at what they do. I'm not going to hype them up anymore. I'm going to ask that each of them introduce themselves and explain a little bit about what they do. Brandy, I'm going to start with you.
Hi, everyone. I'm currently multitasking right now. I'm bedazzling my phone case as an American flag. I'm so patriotic right now. It's literally a problem. But I'm Brandy. I'm a a publicist. I'm the founder of B-Star PR, where we amplify all things new, now, and next. And I'm also a struggling college student at Morris Brown, and just recently have started to really amp up even creating more and more content. I story told my experience as an HBCU student early on, and now it's really turned into more of all things Gen Z, and especially all things this election.
Wonderful, wonderful. Royce, let them know who the people who you are.
Hey y'all, my name is Royce Mann. I am a native Atlantan. I go to Emory University in my senior year. I'm a political organizer. I previously ran for the Atlanta Board of Education in 2021. I am a spoken word poet. I've worked on a number of campaigns. I served as Senator Reverend Warnock's youth engagement coordinator on his re-election campaign. I'm currently working as a field director for a state representative's re-election campaign. So I'm excited to be here to talk about why it's important that young people vote, because that's one of the main things I'm passionate about.
And last, but certainly not least.
Hi guys, my name is Devon Lewis. I am currently a third year business administration with a concentration in management, leadership minor at Morehouse College. I served with the Warnock and Stacey campaign when they ran in 2022. Yeah.
So I got to brag on my man for a little bit. These amazing, amazing people. I have to say, Devon, the thing you told me that you wanted to do post-graduation caught me so off guard because I've never heard it before. Would you just mind sharing what that is, unless it's changed?
So it definitely has changed because life has changed, but it's still kind of on the same track. So before I wanted to be an FBI agent. It's been my dream since I was 4 years old. I am now 19, turning 20. So about 16 years I've been wanting to be an FBI agent. Now I want to be an HR. I want to be the head of HR or the head of people for a Fortune 500 company because that's the work that I currently do now, and I love what I do.
Oh man, that's a pivot, man. But you know what? I pivoted like quite a bit too. We've all pivoted while in college, before and after. So no worries, no worries. Once again, resetting the room for everybody who's just joined us. Thank you so much. This room is dedicated with young professionals meant to inform you about the 2024 election, to get you prepared so you guys know what's at stake, the candidates, and who's saying what on each side. I am your moderator, Noah Washington, partner relationship manager here at Fanbase Social Media. So I'm going to start off with some questions. Feel free for the panelists to answer as they may, using rules of etiquette. So without further ado, my first question to you first is, as a Gen Z, talk to me about the experience that this election has had on you guys so far.
I think this election has forced me to remember where to find hope. Remember that we cannot afford to become disengaged. I'm someone, I feel very strongly about what's going on in Gaza right now, and I've been very displeased with the current administration's handling of that. But this election has also reminded me that we don't vote for perfect people. We vote for people who will listen to us, and that when we vote, we are voting for ourselves and to give ourselves the power to advocate for what we believe in. And so I think the experience of this election has been unique for sure, because I think folks really sense how urgent this election is, but also there are a lot of folks who feel very dissatisfied with the current options and So it's been all about communicating to people that this is about giving yourself power. This is about empowering yourself as a voter. When you vote for somebody and help elect them, that gives you the power to tell them what you want.
I love that. And we're going to follow up on some points. You said some things in there that I really like to follow back on, but I want to give the rest of our panelists the opportunity to answer the question.
For me, it really brings, I look at it as like, we need to really like focus up now. Life is getting very real, especially for, I would say, my generation. We are just entering adulthood. For a lot of us, this is our first time even being able to vote. And so it's like, what do we need to pay attention to? We've seen 2016 to now, basically, and that was 3 different administrations with 3 different belief systems. And so, what does it look like now? And what do we want our future to look like? And so, like a lot of my friends are choosing a party that is opposite from mine. And I gotta be like, I have to remember that they're choosing what's best interest for them, because we have learned that we have to put ourselves first, and not like other people, because we put other people first, it's not going to work out in our favor.
Yeah, this election has been really interesting for me. I went from just really wanting to learn and being really open to now really being excited for Kamala Harris. I think this election even has taught me how important it is to research, how important it is to stay informed. Even what Roy said, I find it so admirable. We were able to go to the DNC together, and he's someone, he researches, he knows people, he knows some of the things that they care about. He remembers when they ran or if they're still running. And it showed me that, we see, especially if you're someone who, cares about politics in rounds based on things that are happening within your community, like I do, it's so important to consistently keep your eyes open. And so that's really what this election has taught me. And it also showed me that we do have a voice and opportunity now more than ever for our generation to get involved. Even when I went to the White House, I saw a bunch of young people that were working. I'm like, oh, so they're hiring. I'm like, oh, so we are in position. I think this election specifically, I've not seen as much inclusion for Gen Z than ever in my 25 years. And so I feel appreciative to be in this space, to be able to lend my voice, but I also feel that there are older people who are looking to listen to us. So this election has taught me that opportunity is there for us to be involved more than ever, and that we should definitely continue.
Royce, I want to come in and I want to follow up on the point that you made earlier. I believe most of the time when we speak of, when we draw the line between Democrat and Republicans, we're either all in on the Democratic ticket or the Republican ticket and aren't afraid and will not admit to the shortcomings of who we side with. You spoke a little bit about the current state of the Middle East. Why do you feel so strongly about it, and what makes you want to say, hey, our current presidential office is not doing enough?
Yeah, I mean, there's a quote, I think it was a quote from James Baldwin. I don't have time to pull up the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, I love my country, so I reserve the right to critique her flaws. And that's always been my personal definition of patriotism. I think the most patriotic thing you can do is to demand better of your nation, and to, especially in a nation that has such lofty ideals on paper, to demand that we work every day to live up to those. So for me, it's a no-brainer to be vocal about what's going on in Palestine. I also appreciate in the comments folks bringing up what's going on in Congo and Sudan. I think too often we get scared of nuance in politics, and we feel like we have to fit each other and ourselves into these neat boxes, but most folks do not agree with everything that either party stands for. Most folks do vote based on very nuanced and complex beliefs. And so I think we do ourselves a disservice when we act like that's not the case, and when we refuse to critique those who we may support. And yeah, I mean, I'm very open. I will be voting for Kamala Harris. I believe, especially as somebody in a swing state, I want to cast my vote for somebody who has a chance to win. I don't see any other candidates besides Donald Trump and Kamala Harris having a chance to win. And so I will cast my ballot for the candidate who I think will listen more to the things I care about, to the concerns of the people I care about. And we don't have to, act like these are perfect people. These are people who, at the end of the day, are asking to work for us. And so we should expect and demand things from them.
I love that. And just for everybody to know, the quote that Royce was referencing is, I'm a huge James Baldwin fan, and the quote goes, "I love America more than any other country in the world, and exactly for this reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually." And I love that one so much. It's one of my favorite Baldwin quotes. Let's jump a little more in, right? The issues. There is not enough people who actually know what the issues are and what each side stands for. Before we go any further, starting with you, Brandy, what are the issues that the Kamala Harris team represents?
So the ones that stick out for me, I see she cares about just our economic plan and what we are going to do in the next few years. This is something that I care about, even with housing. I want to buy a house in the next few years. So anything that she's doing to aid young homeowners is going to be helpful, as well as stuff that they've already done in the Biden-Harris administration in aiding the bias that was happening and creating task force to aid in unbiased, so that way people can purchase homes, especially African Americans who are having difficulty with banks and getting, I guess, your house valued. I don't know, appraisals. I'm still learning the lingo. But so that's one that I really care about. Obviously, healthcare, too. I'm getting ready to be off my mom's health insurance. These are issues that I care about. Another issue that I saw on the site that I was super excited to see, because I feel like we're affected by it, but we don't also talk about it as much. And I'm definitely affected in my family and closely have been affected. Even my college experience was the drug fentanyl crisis that our country has right now. It was something that's affected me, and it does look like she has a plan of action to aid those things from expanding even more. Also, she plans on helping small business owners. That's something that also directly affects me. What else? I can keep going. More issues that I care about. Trying to think. The taxes is going to be a big thing. I want to have kids eventually, so that's going to be great. I'm like anyone else. Maybe y'all can help me.
Yeah, I want to jump in. Healthcare has, even since 2008, has been a long-running issue in this country, right? I mean, that's why that's what led to Obama's policy, the Affordable Care Act, later nicknamed Obamacare, right? Mm-hmm. Especially when you're 26, it becomes scarier and scarier. I'm afraid. I'm open to say I'm epileptic, right? And so my biggest concern in my day-to-day life is, will I have health insurance to cover my medication? I got very lucky to work at Fanbase, and I had a great CTO who went in and made sure that the healthcare that we got as a company was something that would also take my coverage. And so I'm very lucky in that regard to get to have that. With that being said, international healthcare policies differ so much. Does anybody in this room care to speak on that?
I mean, real quick, I've broken one bone in my life, and I was in Norway when this happened. I had to fly to Denmark before I could get medical care. I walked in. All they had me do was sign my first and last name on a sign-in sheet, and then they gave me everything I needed.
What?
And then at the end, I was like, so where do I pay? And they looked at me like I was insane.
What?
And that is how so many people around the world live. And I feel like in the U.S., we've been gaslit into believing that if we were to pay for healthcare for everyone, we would become, a communist nation overnight, or it would force us to, get rid of the free market completely or something. And that's just not the case. There are so many, capitalist countries, democratic countries that provide healthcare for everyone. And we've seen progress, but especially here in Georgia, we need to see more. We've failed to expand Medicaid. That's a big reason that local elections are so important. The state has the power to expand Medicaid using federal dollars. So Obamacare, it allowed for states to use federal money to expand Medicaid, while only having to put up a bit of money from the state. And in most states, even in Republican states, they've chosen to do that because it gives health care to hundreds of thousands of people. It lowers costs for people. It helps the economy. In Georgia, for political reasons, our leaders have refused to do that. And so as great as it was that we got the Affordable Care Act, folks in Georgia can't reap the benefits fully of the Affordable Care Act because our local elected officials have refused to let us.
How was the care in Norway? What'd they do?
It was good. It was like, it was in Denmark where I ended up actually getting it. But I just fractured my wrist, and they gave me, x-ray and gave me my cast and pain meds and everything, and told me to call them if I needed anything.
That's amazing.
The quality was no less than it would be in the United States.
Really?
It was just so much easier and so much more affordable.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man, I love that. Let me ask this follow-up question for you, Devon, being that your line of work is in HR now, right? From an HR perspective, how does American politics govern what you do?
So it makes a big difference, but not as much. It's really locally that makes a big difference for me. Which is why I agree with Royce and Brandy when they said that the local elections really matter. What I do when it comes to compliance and stuff like that, the only thing that the government can really control is the minimum wage, which definitely needs to be higher, especially in Georgia. The federal minimum wage as a whole, I believe, is $7.25, and then even in Georgia, I don't think they increased it. Thank God that I work for a private company that our company minimum wage is $15. So we pay our employees pretty well, but I came from a job that was paying me $8 an hour, and I wasn't even surviving. I was just working to work. And so I believe if we could definitely get that minimum wage increase, that could change a lot of votes, I would say.
I want to double back in on the earlier statement about key factors. Royce, for you, what key factors do you have in the selection? What do you want to see spoken about?
Yeah, I want to see the needs of those who have been left to the margins of our society, those who have been left out of achieving the American dream. I want to hear their needs spoken to. So that means an economic agenda that truly gets to the root of poverty, that helps uplift not only middle class, but lower class and impoverished families and individuals. An approach to our criminal justice system that works to end mass incarceration and create diversions to incarceration, where we actually put put people first instead of profits. And again, I don't think, either candidate is 100% aligned with how I feel. But at the end of the day, I'm voting for who I think we can organize around. And so that's what's front of mind when I'll be going to the ballot box is the work to come. I'll be thinking about the next 4 years and what we can hopefully get done as young people, as civically engaged people, as voters, because we are, when we go into that ballot box, we are creating a mandate, and we are, demanding that the folks we vote for follow through on what they've promised and hopefully do more. And so, yeah.
How about you, Devon?
Repeat the question one time for me, though.
What issues are you looking for addressed the most in this upcoming election?
I believe definitely a concern for mine is troops, especially where they're going and where our money is being spent when it comes to Congo, Gaza, and Palestine and all of that. Another thing for me is really abortion and the Roe v. Wade overturn thing. That seems very weird for a man to be passionate about that. But I just recently graduated from a fellowship called Men for Choice, where we are a fellowship of men who are pro-choice. And I am a devoted Christian who do believe that abortion isn't the right thing to do, right? But at the end of the day, it's your choice. And that's what I heavily believe on. And I don't believe that it's the choice of some person in government who has never met you before to tell you what you can and can't do with your body. If you want to get an abortion at your cost, that's your choice. If you don't and you want to have a baby and you can't afford it, that is your choice. If you want to give your baby up for adoption, that should be your choice. That shouldn't be no choice of somebody sitting 2,000 miles away from you at the Capitol while you're in California trying to deal with it.
Let me ask a follow-up question to that, Devon. Currently, based on Donald Trump's platform, he has lost a huge percentage of the woman vote as a result of his pro-choice legislation, right? Can you speak to that percentage that still will vote for him? Or Brandy, please feel free to jump in.
I don't know. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, Brandy, go ahead.
I just don't understand how somebody can vote for a criminal. I don't understand it. But outside of that, I mean, I feel like people who are still voting for in alignment with some of the policies that he's wanting when it comes to abortion, I think they're probably just looking at, because he emphasized this point at the debate, that this was an ongoing conflict that's been happening for years. And I remember I visited the White House as a little kid, and there were people outside protesting daily about stopping abortion and banning abortion. So I feel as if that's what he's in referencing, of people who've been passionate about it for years, who are now just had been listened to, but it's just the way it happened. And I don't think this is the solution. I do think there's another solution where it could be more, obviously pro-women or pro-choice, but then there's maybe like a more of a plan put in place to prevent this from happening for people probably aborting their children. And I think her tax plan and wanting to give help to young mothers and people who are having kids, I think that actually incentivizes people to have children. And so it actually will cut down on people wanting to abort their children and getting a tax break. So I feel like there's different things that we can do as a nation that aids that or helps prevent it, but I don't think his way is the best solution at all, in my opinion.
Honestly, to piggyback off that, I really she ate that up. She ate that up with the ending that ate. But no, really, I don't think I agree when Kamala first put out the $10,000 or $20,000 tax rate for having a kid. The first thing I thought was nobody's going to want to get an abortion now. Respectfully, the black male community, those who are voting for Trump, the ones that I've talked to have said that he did so much with that stimulus check that didn't even come from him. But I digress. That they believe that they're going to get more money when he becomes president. And I had to remind them, like, that's not how that worked. We were in a pandemic. Nobody was doing nothing, and people needed money, so the government provided, which was their jobs. And if you want to be honest, Trump didn't even vote for that. And then they were like, well, the economy was good back then. Yeah, the economy was good when Reagan was president, too. If you look after Reagan, the economy went down. After that, we got Obama. Well, after Reagan was Obama, I believe, something like that. I don't know the presidents like that, for real, to be honest. But so the economy goes down and up every 4 years. The economy is based off the presidential election of the previous years. So if you look, Trump had a great economy because the president before him was great. Now look at the president we have now and the economy we have now.
That's, I'm really glad you said that. A lot of people don't realize that the incoming president receives the work of the outgoing president. And that's how, a lot of Trump's success was based on the groundwork that Barack Obama did, right? Same thing with we can even trace this back to the pandemic.
Sorry, Kajwa, I think people realize it. I think it's just not as amplified because that's what he wants people to think.
Speak to that, Brandy.
I mean, I think it's clear. I feel like people know that. I get on TikTok Live and other platforms, and I listen to like people's opinions, and it's not that they're disagreeing. Especially with the pandemic and how that shifted, I feel like people are in alignment, but the ones who want to give Trump the credit, I think that's just something that he's kind of like helping, like he's running on. Even he talked about it in the debate several times. So, yeah, it's just...
Now comes the vital question, the debate. First, Royce, starting with you, we haven't heard from you in a minute. What are your thoughts on the debate? Who won? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I feel like that's not even a question of who won. I mean, we saw 70-something-year-old adult baby having a 2-hour-long temper tantrum while we saw a very well-qualified vice president speak to the issues. I think there's a lot more I wish we would have heard from Kamala Harris, but at the end of the day, it was like night and day, seeing the difference between the two leading candidates. Trump bit at every bait she put out there. He said just some insane things that I really hope folks do not believe. I mean, from his horrible and xenophobic accusations about Haitian immigrants that have no basis in fact to just the things that he lashed out about throughout the debate, claiming that undocumented immigrants are getting gender reassignment surgeries in prison and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, I think it was clear that one person on that stage is qualified to be president, and it is not Donald Trump.
Brandy, what are your thoughts?
I was at church at the CBC, and the pastor said that Black excellence exposed mediocrity, and I really feel that is the sum of what that was. I feel like even how she articulated herself, how she broke down issues and solutions, and that's what I kept saying. I didn't want a tit for tat, jab for jab. I felt like he was talking in tweet. He wasn't completing his sentences. He was ranting, and she was able to really control the conversation and then also she kept saying, as president, as president, as president. And that's what I was saying even before. I'm like, whoever gets in there and says, as president, they're going to do X, Y, and Z. Like, I don't want to just hear promises. I want to hear actual plan of action. And I feel like she got in that debate and did that. It wasn't just a tit for tat or read for read. And that's really what I wanted to hear. And I think that's what she was able to do. I think Trump got in there and he wasn't in control. Even some of the things that he was saying, the numbers were off. You can tell he was just responding and ranting versus really trying to get out how he wants to create solutions.
You know, Devon, before I get to you, I want to share a little bit of hope for the people who are currently in the audience. I'm an avid newspaper reader. For those of you who don't know, I'm a bit of a nerd. And so I was reading this story today that after the election, right, when Donald Trump promoted the eating of cats and dogs in Springfield, which is the most insane thing I've ever heard a president say, right? Mm-hmm. But they blame my man Obama for a tan suit. You know what? Let me stop. But the Springfield community gathered in support of the Haitian community, and it was just absolutely awesome to see. I'm going to put some more links in here for you guys to check out as this conversation goes on. Devon, hit the people what you got.
You didn't say the question.
No. If you could please talk to what your feelings were about the past debate that just happened.
Oh, honestly, the past debate was honestly hilarious in my opinion, only because I have a friend who is an avid Trump supporter, which I respect. Why he's a Trump supporter doesn't mean I respect him being one, but yeah. But we were texting the whole time, and it was like, sir, you're supporting someone who has a felony. He was like, oh, people with felonies shouldn't vote. Well, people with felonies shouldn't be president either. How do you get to be president and you've been indicted? You've been found guilty, sir. Like, you can't come back from it. It's not possibly. No, sir, you're guilty. But these other people can't vote, but you can be president. I just feel like if you can be president, these other people should be able to vote as well. Because if let these fellas vote, I guarantee you will not be president. So yeah, that's really, like, honestly, I found the debate, like, stupid on his end. Kamala was eating him up with everything, and then her facial expressions were really eating him down. It was just great, honestly.
I love each of the opinions that you guys spoke in here. I want to also speak to matters of how you should see friends and families who are not on the same side as you politically. How do you address those situations of political difference? We'll start with you, Brandy.
You cut them off. No, I'm kidding. So my first order of business is just kind of listening. I feel like people who have other views than I do, when I talk to them, and not just people I know, these are strangers too when I get on lives and stuff, and they don't feel like people are hearing them. They feel like people go into conversations being combative. And so the best thing that I've been able to do is really present a safe space, I guess, in a way where it's like, tell me everything. You don't have to sound super politically correct. Like, I just want to know what their thoughts are. And when I've done that, I've been able to show them that, hey, there are some similarities. We also care about border protection and border security and, these things as a Democrat or, someone who might be more, pointed to voting for Kamala this season. And so I love having that kind of conversation and then pointing out similarities, but then also showing the differences in solutions. One seems more radical. One seems the conversation that sometimes I see Republicans having is like, we need this change automatically. Like, need these people gone. Like all these crazy things that when you slow down and you look at it, you're like, that's inhumane. That's not of God. These are not things that spread kindness. This spreads hate. This spreads this isn't a solution that is going to, especially for a land that was taken in the beginning. It's like we want to say our country represents freedom and access, but doing things like that so radically and so and the way it's even articulated in Fox News and stuff like that, it's like it really aids in people showing hate towards one another. So I love essentially listening, breaking down the information and the similarities, and then also showing some of the policies and things that we don't even hear Republicans talking about. And especially if the person is in my same culture, if they have the same experience as I do, when I start to mention some of the things that even the Biden-Harris administration has done that they may not have been aware of, I'm like, I have seemed to make people at least consider going blue this election season just because of the way I've been able to kind of like break it down. But I don't shun people for their political views. If anything, I just try to educate them. And I mean, even after the debate following up and being like, hey, sending interviews too. And I watch rallies. I was watching the RNC. Like, I keep the same energy across the board. And I don't just look at clips on Twitter because things can be you could be misinformed. And so and that's why I like rooms like this on Fan Base. It's like we're breaking it down, but at the same time we're saying our opinions. And I really do believe people just have to stay educated across the board and share information with one another and give full context. But yeah, that's kind of how I've been treating it.
Royce, you're at Emory, so you without having gone, but knowing what background information I do know, you probably have run into more situations than not where you've met somebody on the other side of your viewpoints. How do you handle it in a collegiate setting?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you have to remember, at least if you're somebody like me who believes that most people are good at heart, you gotta hang on to that. No matter how false that may seem sometimes, you gotta remember that what manifests as hatred is most often rooted in ignorance. And so for me, that's how I try to approach things. I try to keep a level of respect for everyone's humanity that does not waver based on their views or beliefs, and also approach situations with humility. I think when we show a willingness to reconsider our own beliefs, then those we're talking to are going to replicate that. And that if we come with a sense of arrogance and a sense of being so set in our beliefs that we won't even listen, then the folks we're talking to are going to approach us in the same manner. So we have to let our guard down. And once we do that, I think you're able to connect with folks. And another important thing is to find what you agree on and to not lose sight of that. It's important to talk about what we disagree about, but we got to remember that there's so much that we do agree on.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Devon, before you answer this question, I want to double check and make sure I heard you correctly when you said it. Currently, did you say you were in Alabama?
No, I'm in Atlanta.
I thought you may have said Alabama, so that's why I wanted to verify it. Sorry. Continue with what you were saying.
Oh, for me, it's really I've only met about 5 different people on campus who views differ from mine. But for them, it was more that they come from a business family where they have that money that Trump is giving them tax cuts, so their money is being affected by tax cuts, and that's what they really care about. Which is why I said I understand why they're voting for him. Doesn't mean I respect it or like it, but I understand it. But that's really everybody else that I've met or talked to has mostly been like, yeah, it's time for a change, and we don't need to make America quote unquote great again.
That's amazing. That's a good perspective. I actually do want to then go more into that. You said tell the people the institution that you attended real quick.
I attend Morehouse College.
And so I wanted to dive into that. You said you met folks on campus. Coming as a black man, when you hear other black men speaking out about supporting Trump, what's your first thought?
My first thought is that they're uneducated, respectfully. And like they are just going off of what they see on like social media and things. Until I hear them out. And then I hear them out and I'm like, my first question is why? Okay, I hear you understanding. I'm going to respect that, but why are you voting for him? And some of them, most of them is like, well, my family is this and this in the oil industry, or I have this amount of money that can get voted off or whatever. I'm like, okay, it makes sense for you. For somebody who's coming from a low-income family, I am a first-generation college student. First generation out of all of the generations ever in my family. First person ever in my family to go to college, even attempt to go to college as well. And so for me, it's like I've seen the struggle, and I know I don't get that tax cut. Actually, my family gets taxed more, so you can get that tax cut. So I don't appreciate you're voting for him, but I understand why they're voting for them. But then I also try to educate them more on my end about like reproductive rights and stuff like that, because I then throw in the picture, what if your mother or your sister or somebody had to have an emergency abortion? Because black men, we don't play about the black women in our families. So I throw that in their face low key. Be like, how do you feel about that? How do you feel that Trump is thinking to do this? And they're like, oh, well, that's actually, you know what, I probably should do my own research instead of just what I'm hearing. And then I normally just try to educate them as best as I can.
Before we open up for...
Oh no, your mic is like covered.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, way better.
Okay. Before we open up for questions in the comments, I have to ask, my final question for you is there, going back to the theme of understanding that Devon was just talking about, do you believe there's a lack of empathy for candidates in this 2024 election?
Yeah. Us as a nation, we're tired. We're tired. We're tired. We're exhausted. We don't have time for the quote unquote BS anymore. And so now we're like, we don't care about your feelings. We care about what you're going to do for us. And once America turned into that mindset, that's when we really started looking and stuff like that.
All right. Royce, how about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's a lack of empathy in our civic life in general. I think we've become more divided as the internet has taken on such a large place in our lives. It's so easy to say nasty things to a profile picture that you wouldn't say to somebody's face in real life. I also think that the sort of political elite, lawmakers in Washington, lobbyists, those who are sort of in these rooms of power, try to create a level of division amongst the general public that doesn't exist amongst themselves. I mean, we still, maybe not to the extent that you saw a couple decades ago, but still you have members of Congress who have very differing views, who have strong friendships. And yet these are often the same people whose rhetoric causes us to end our own friendships. and I think that's really unfortunate. I think that we've been duped to an extent, because that division only serves certain political interests, and it doesn't serve us as the people.
Brandy, saving the best for last.
Not even. I agree with both guys. I also feel as if I feel like people are putting a lot more pressure on this election because of social media. I've been saying I don't want us to get lost in the meme of it all. So there's certain moments where I feel like people are like, okay, now what does this really mean? Like, we went 2-3 weeks talking about chicken heads and, just all this crazy stuff. But it's like, okay, we have 50 days left. So I feel like people have been demanding for policy, and more than ever. Like, I feel like other presidents, and someone had made this point to me. It's like, they've not, and granted, like I said, 25 years old, paid attention to other elections, but like this deep in an election and policy and concern, I have not. But this is directly going to affect me in the decisions that are happening in the next few years, in just how I care about health insurance and like housing and rental prices and things like that. So I'm really paying attention now. And someone older was like, people have not asked for promises and policy and breakdowns and plan of actions as much as they have this election. And I don't know if that's just because people can be more vocal on social media or not, but I do feel like people have started to put pressure on the candidates and their teams, and representatives, to ensure that there's information readily available on websites, not just on social media. And so to that extent, I do feel like empathy, and no matter the timing of when she became considered as presidential candidate, I feel like people are like, forget that. Like, we need action. We need movement. We need things that are happening. And I think they're also judging how people are reacting to different information. Who's going to speak out and speak up for people who are experiencing discrimination right now in Ohio? Like, I think people are paying attention to way more. So I agree with what they're saying, but I also just feel like people are tired and want real change.
I love all that. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I have one more thing. I'm so sorry. For y'all Trump supporters who are out there and saying, why hasn't Kamala done anything that she's saying she's going to do now? Do you know the roles of the vice president? They only have two things to do. One, be there if the president dies to be the next president, and two, be the tiebreaker for the Senate. Other than that, they don't do much. So stop expecting so much. That's all.
Put words to power, man. I love it. Okay, so right now we're going to take questions. We have a few minutes to take questions from the comments. If not, I'm going to proceed with the questions I have left. So let's check the comments. Big Scale says, Trump said he has concepts for plans. Tafari Nichols, man, a Trump supporter in here. That's okay.
Welcome.
That's okay. Let me, let's see. We will see once he gets in office. Are there more? Okay, Memoirs Joy says, are there more people in your age bracket that are politically literate?
I don't know. I don't know I can't speak for everybody. I say the conversations and the people that I've been putting myself around are a little bit of both. I'm interacting with people who are not necessarily, and I could be not literate as much either. I just like to read. But yeah, I think it's in different spaces. Like, when it came to the things that were affecting my community, I feel like I was on top of it. But things that are affecting, like, I'm just now learning about health insurance. Like, my mom dealt with that. I never had to think about it. So these are things that I feel like we're even slowly learning as adults. And so I can't say that everybody knows all the information that they should, because at the end of the day, like, we're just now even aging out to have to learn about this stuff.
Royce, how about you, sir?
That's a great question. I think there are a lot of folks in our age bracket who I would say are politically literate. pay attention to what's going on. I think a big aspect of truly being engaged and aware is knowing what you don't know. So I appreciate Brandy touching on that. There's so many different issue areas. There's so many different levels to our political system that you can't know about everything. But trying to zero in on what affects the issues you care about is really important. And I think there's so much information out there that people are taking in information at a pretty high rate, but being able to decipher not only what's fact and what's fiction, but also really understanding the different mechanisms of power that exist in our political system, who has power over what. I think that those are sort of deeper levels of political understanding that we haven't made super accessible to folks. And so I was actually talking with a political science professor today about that there's a lot of misinformation and lack of awareness about where candidates stand on issues, but I think another dimension of it is not understanding what levels of government have power over what issues and what aspects of different issues. And I think that's really a failing of our civics education, because we have a complex government, and you can't expect folks just on their own time, learn everything that they need to know to make informed decisions. And so I think folks in our generation are really making an effort, but we need information that's more accessible.
Devon, how about you?
The question was, what was the question again? Sorry, just want to make sure. Short
the question well, actually, I'll read it directly again by Nimrar's Joy. The question is, are there any more people in your age bracket that are politically literate?
I think because of the school that I go to and the schools that surround my school, we are. Morehouse does a great job of incorporating real world problems into our lessons. And so right now, even for my stats class, we're working on the election and election numbers and stuff like that. And so we're required to be politically literate. So the people that I speak to and the ones that I have conversations with, I believe we are just a little more literate because we're required to, but not because we choose to, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. Let's see. Do we have any more questions from the audience? Okay. If not, then I will end this on this final question. What would you guys like to say to people in the audience or who may not know who to side with in the election? I know that seems like an obvious question, right? But we need to speak to all folks.
If they don't know what to do?
Yep.
I'd say watch the debate.
That's a pretty good answer. Royce, how about you?
Donald Trump has made it very clear what he wants to do. He wants to institute very authoritarian policies. He's called for the execution of folks caught for drug dealing. He's called for the federal government, for his administration, if he's elected, to be able to get rid of federal employees at all levels who disagree with him. His closest advisors have started calling for the execution of political opponents. His closest advisors, like Laura Loomer, who he has been with on the campaign trail constantly, started calling for the execution of his political opponents. So when I hear that, I fear for my own safety. I fear for the safety of people that I care about. I do not love Kamala Harris. I think that as part of the Biden administration, she has been guilty of war crimes. There's no question that she is still the right person for me to vote for this November. That shows how much of a threat Donald Trump is.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I am owning up to the fact that I'm voting for somebody who I think has committed war crimes, because the alternative is that much worse. So this is not an election we can afford to sit out, y'all.
I love you, Royce.
Devon, take us out, bro.
To be nonpartisan, again, I'm gonna hop on what Brandy said. Watch the debate. Choose what best is in interest for you, but I know what's best interest for me and my country is Kamala. If you guys if you want to survive and not be in a dictatorship, because he definitely said he wants a dictatorship for America. So if you don't want to be a dictatorship, vote Kamala 24.
Also, I have the black woman in here, and be black woman, and black women, black woman, and black women, and make sure we all know it is Kamala.
Tell us straight.
I know it's so easy to say otherwise, but it's Kamala.
So, okay, guys. So, thank you all so much for taking the time to join us here for this collegiate town hall. Remember to stick into the premiere of You Matter 2024 with follow-ups with political expert Quentin R. Giles. That'll be happening this Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and he will be hosting the room every week, every Thursday, leading up to the election. So please come check him out. You might see your boy here. You might see some of these fantastic people in there as well. And a special announcement this Friday, September 20th, Fanbase will be hosting a fan-based investathon. So be sure, keep in contact, keep to your social media pages, keep to your emails for more information soon to come. We look forward to seeing you out here. Guys there, please remember to share these rooms, share content as you see it on Fanbase. And with that, guys,
Thanks for listening. Bye for now.